Well, we said that there would be plenty of action from the World Cup in Qatar, but what the past month of football has served up has been nothing short of extraordinary. Hello and welcome back to Sportsbet's World Cup show. My name is Sam Jordan, and to break down what has been a thrilling month of football, I have the honour of sitting alongside our expert on the couch, Dwight Yorke. Dwight, great to see you again, mate.
Thanks very much, Sam.
And fresh off the plane too from Doha, you were at the World Cup. What was that experience like? How was it over there?
Well, listen, it's been a fantastic tournament to this point, and have the opportunity to work just on the pitch side as well, really have a close-up intake on how the players and the fans are, sort of interacting with each other. It was a fantastic experience. Yeah,
certainly a World Cup to remember, that's for sure. It has been so thrilling to watch so far, all of the games, so there is plenty for us to talk through. To start with, we will be going through Australia's run at the World Cup. We did hope that the Socceroos could pull off something special, and they certainly delivered on that. From there, we will be talking through the 4 quarter-finals that we're up to now and some predictions on where this tournament will finish up. Now, Dwight, we had high hopes last time that Australia could produce something special. What they did do was nothing short of extraordinary. You were actually at some of Australia's games as well. What did you make of the Socceroos?
I thought they can obviously, it's a fantastic tournament where the Australian probably would have liked to have gone a little bit further. I don't think anyone really gave them a chance coming out of the group stage, but they obviously exceeded all expectation, and which is fantastic, not just for the Socceroos, but for Australian football as well. A perfect platform to showcase that Australia do have a lot of talent, although they talked about the golden generation. But take nothing away from what Graham Arnold has done and achieved in getting them to the last 16 at least. Unfortunately, they didn't go through beyond that, but certainly they should be very, very proud in terms of what they've achieved.
It was close. We had our moments. I thought right at the end there that we might have an equaliser through Garang Kual. It was incredible. And so many players did put their hand up and really take the lead throughout the Australia's World Cup campaign as well. So we're going to have a chat about a couple of those. One being Harry Souttar. It's pretty hard to miss Harry throughout Australia's World Cup campaign, the big, tall centre-back. Yep. He plays for Stoke in the Championship. Now, he was so impressive for Australia that there is talk that he could get a move into the Premier League. Do you think he's got what it takes?
Yeah, well, listen, based on the performance, often enough when you go into such a big tournament, you're not just putting yourself in the shop window. He's out there. Of course, he's had a decent platform at Stoke in the Championship. So that's pretty much a real good platform to really showcase your talent, but it doesn't come bigger than the World Cup. And he had a terrific World Cup, and I can understand why a lot of talk about him now in terms of getting a chance to the Premier League. But that's what you do when you're in those positions, and he hasn't done himself any harm in terms of his performances. And so one that we'll probably have to watch with a close eye, because after what he's done, then you wouldn't be surprised if somebody's made a move for him.
There's so many critics and judges throughout the World Cup. I have seen that a number of them have actually put Harry in their team of the tournament so far. Do you think he kind of figures into that calculations for you?
I'm not sure about the team of the tournament, but in terms from a personal point of view, I think he's done remarkable well. And, as a player, that's what you want to go in there and sort of put yourself on the map in many respects. I think Harry's done that, and it's just about whether he goes back to Stoke now and continue that same vein, because now his name is out there. I'm sure when you do play in the Championship, there's a lot of people watching you. So if he's made impression there, or he hasn't made the impression, he's certainly left an impression in the World Cup. And let's see what it really takes him from there. But he certainly hasn't done himself any harm.
He's one of the players that Graham Arnold put so much belief and trust in to get him not only playing for Australia, but also getting fit after that ACL injury as well. What do we make of the coach, Graham Arnold? There was a lot of questions around his future coming into the tournament. How impressed were you by his team?
Well, listen, as a coach, you got to try and define the odds, right? And the odds was up against Graham when he even getting them to the World Cup itself. There was a little bit of a struggle there. You looked at the group, as we identified earlier on, that they probably might struggle to get out of that. I think a lot of people did expect them to struggle. But then as a manager, you define the odds, and Graham Arnold has been able to do that. He's managed to turn it around, and certainly he's come out really looking good on the other side of it. And now, he has put himself in the shop window himself as well. So that's what manager tends to do, and he's got the best out of the players. The players gone out there and done the business for him. And so, yeah, we just have to watch that one with a bit of pinch of salt as well.
Yeah, with plenty of interest too. He is now off contract, Graham Arnold, and he has attracted some interest from clubs around the world already. The round of 16 at a World Cup, is that a big enough result to be able to earn a move to Europe?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, I suppose. I think when you look at how the Socceroos had performed, I think without any sort of a household name in their ranks, I think to get to the last 16 is quite remarkable in a very difficult group with Argentina and Denmark as we expected. So that was always going to be a challenge. He's overcome that. And so, yeah, I think you can look at it from that point of view, that he's done really well and got the players performing at a certain level. Getting to the 16, he certainly does give himself a chance to get something substantial if he's interested in it, I'm sure.
You've got your coach's cap on,
Yeah.
obviously here in Australia, leading MacArthur in the A-League. Is there the temptation to make that move now, or do you think that Arnie would want to build on what he's achieved with Australia?
Well, it depends on how you look at it as a manager. Now he's probably can look back and reflect as to whether he's the man to take the Socceroos forward, or he can probably evaluate the situation and think maybe I need to get back into like the everyday management. So there's two types of management here. When you're international, you're not sort of on a day-to-day basis, even though you're pretty much active. Club management is when you sort of every day you're dealing with CEOs, you're dealing with players, you're dealing with a lot of things every day. Whether he's at that stage and he wants to get back into it, or I'm sure with the option maybe with considering what he's done to this point, that he may still want to carry on as the Socceroo head coach.
Yeah, now we mentioned Harry Sutar, we mentioned Garang Kual, both outstanding, but there were so many young players who did stand up in this tournament. Riley McGree springs to mind, he was brilliant. So too Kai Rolls in the centre of defence alongside Harry. What do you make of this group moving forward? Because already as Australian fans, we haven't been this excited in a long time. We're thinking about 2026 already.
Oh, really? Well, as I said, they can take a lot of credit from it. I think, as you said, they defined the odds, that the odds was against them, and he's turned that around. I think the players deserve a lot of credit in terms of how they perform and how they went about it. And yeah, I mean, it must be very encouraging if you're an Australian player / fans, that this may be the team to try and take us forward going forward. But 4 years is a long time. These players will then go away from that. They will take a lot of heart from it, gained a lot of experience playing in the World Cup. Hopefully that should make them a better player as well, going back to their club. And it's all about maintenance now, whether can you go that other step or you just level out and think, well, I've achieved the goal of playing for the Socceroo and that's it. If you have anything about you, then you kind of drive on from there and try to even go to bigger clubs, better experience, play against bigger and better teams, and gain that experience and then come back and sort of take Australia forward. So it depends on where these players are, the sort of mindset that you look at for the individual, and see how they react. But, to be thinking of 2026 is a long way. But certainly from an Australian point of view, it is a very positive one that these players now understand what it takes to get to a World Cup.
Well, you mentioned that next step for the players being to try and earn those moves over to Europe. Is that the next step for their careers, just to try and take those progressions and continue to step up into bigger and bigger leagues?
Yeah, and sometimes I think, from my experiences, that players tend to get ahead of themselves. You need to tick the boxes before you can even get to Europe. It's a real competitive market, as we all know. It's not as straightforward as some people is. It is a really different level when you go to Europe. But ultimately, you've got to go back to your team and start that progress and then start, implementing how good you are a player and being consistent over the years or the months and weeks ahead of you. You do that, you get recognized. You got recognition, because the sports you can't hide. If you were doing the business, as we say, you will get picked up. So there's no point in trying to say, yeah, I'm ready to go to Europe when you're not doing the business from a domestic point of view.
Dwight, you've been involved in Australian football for a long time, first as a player, now as a coach, as I did mention. I think you can tell by my excitement that there is a sense of excitement in the football community here in Australia. And we did see that at some of the live sites as well, with the games throughout the tournament. So many fans turning out all across the country. This was Melbourne's Federation Square. There was 15,000 fans, they predict, at some point there. Again, Darling Harbour in Sydney had to close off access to members of the public. It was such a groundswell of support and excitement. How big is this opportunity for the game in Australia now?
Well, it's massive, isn't it? I mean, considering that when you put football, which is our soccer, as you call it down here, in and amongst the other sports in Australia, we are pretty much second class, aren't we, really? And I think that, for me, is... I can't get my head around it, and I'm not saying that the other sports doesn't deserve to be at the top, but you just have to look at the fans, look at the reaction when the World Cup is on. You know, the stadiums are absolutely packed. People are absolutely coming out in their numbers supporting the Socceroos. So you would think with that type of support that football should be a much higher, you know, sort of on the pedestal here in Australia. Unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen, despite all the fans and everything that you've seen and the success that the Socceroos has brought to this nation this point in time. So something has to give. It hasn't, but what is encouraging is that there is lots of support out there for the game of football. And we somehow need to embrace that. Somehow we need to find a solution to get people through the turnstiles supporting the A-League particularly, because it is the top league. Also, some of the domestic league, because it has to go hand in hand to improve players, to bring them up to that level. And so there's some work to be done. The people at the top of the game needs to really come together and try to find that solution that will be better for the sports to be the level that it should be. And based on my experience being here, the All-Star game against Barcelona, 75,000 people. You look at the numbers right now that we have seen and the numbers supporting the Socceroos. For football to be where it is now, where it should be, there is something that's not particularly right at the moment, and we need to find that solution.
Well, we had so many A-League players feature in the Socceroos squad and also feature on the field in meaningful ways for the Socceroos. Our first Sportsbet World Cup show, we did sit here speaking about Garang Kuol and the fact that he had played against your side, MacArthur, the day before. Now he's almost scoring a goal against Argentina.
Yeah.
That's the thing for fans, to know that they can see these players right here at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just like how you know, the advertisement for the World Cup, maybe that's maybe an idea or an area that certainly can be improved in terms of selling the product, because you need to sell the product. You need to get those, you know, these local superstars in their own rights out there so people can actually come and sort of support whatever the team, or even to just come and have a look at a game, a quality game between two top A-League team can be, you know, sort of entertaining to a certain level as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's there, it's right on your doorstep, but it's how you sell that product that is the key.
Well, so much to celebrate for Australia and Australian football, but the tournament's still going. We're up to the quarterfinals now of the World Cup, and before we get stuck into analysing those, Dwight, we ran the numbers from our predictions that we did on our last Sportsbet World Cup show. You predicted 10 out of 16 qualifiers correctly, which, given the surprises that we saw, I thought that was pretty outstanding. That's not bad.
Not bad. I take that. I take that. I can't get it all right, and but I think that the ones that I predicted mainly are the ones who were likely to be in and amongst there.
We've pulled a little snippet from my favourite prediction of yours from the last show as well. Let's have a look at that now.
Okay. Morocco is the one. I've seen Morocco play again in that Arab Cup, and they were fantastic. It really brings a good energy. The fans really bring something to the table. And on top of that, they got some really good players, real attacking minded. So there could be my dark horse in that group.
How good are you? Not only were Morocco one of the surprise packers of the tournament, topping their group, this morning they've gone and done it against Spain. You must be feeling pretty proud of that one.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't surprise, because I had front row seat in terms of watching the Arab Cup, so I'm watching these games very closely, and also I was working with the sports analyst for FIFA with Arsene Wenger and Steve McLaren. So and even Klinsmann, Jurgen Klinsmann was there as well. So, you know, to have that insight and watch these teams and analyze them very closely, you could see why Morocco was always going to be a threat. Certainly the environment, what they bring, and they had missed one and two of their star players as well to come add to that squad. So I felt that they really had an outside chance. To many people, may seem like a bit of a surprise, but to me it wasn't particular of a surprise. But the way they've done it against Spain the few nights ago was quite incredible, and they probably still have a lot to say in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. There were so many surprises. One of them, we did actually speak about Group E, whether or not it was actually the group of death in the World Cup. Well, as it turned out, Japan going and shocking the world, eliminating Germany. At one point, it was going to be Costa Rica and Japan going through. I think that one would have been pretty incredible for World Cup history too.
It would have been incredible. But that's just the beauty of our sports, and that's why everyone is enticed in it and everyone is fascinated by our sports. The unpredictability is one that we all can't predict at times, and even the experts gets it wrong. So, to see the likes of Japan, Saudi, all these teams there and sending home some massive games, Belgium, Germany, those massive teams have gone home as well that we expect to be in the last, quarter-final stage. They're not there, and that's you got to give credit to where the game of football is really taken, and that's why everyone is so fascinated by our sport.
So many incredible teams in this World Cup in Qatar, but only 8 remain. Let's take a look at the quarterfinals as they do stand. In quarterfinal number 1, we do have Argentina taking on the Netherlands. Quarterfinal number 2, France and England. That is an absolute blockbuster. Brazil and Croatia in quarterfinal number 3, and then it is Morocco and Portugal in the last quarterfinal. Let's talk through those now. Argentina, Netherlands. It's an incredible way to start because the Netherlands had been flying under the radar so far in this tournament. They hadn't really put their best football together, but what they did produce in the round of 16, they have what it takes to give Argentina a real go here.
Oh, no, absolutely. This is a game that is on the knife edge. You can't really predict who is going to sort of take the edge. I've managed to watch these games, and I've been very close up analysing it from a coaching point of view as well. The Netherlands have played a particular way, and the fullbacks joined in and give them those width in wide areas, really creative, and they got really fluent style of play that, as you said, went under the radar a little bit. I think as the tournament progressed, you find the Netherlands have really come into their own, and they're showing their class and quality, certainly in the last game that they played. On the flip side of that, they're playing Argentina, who lost their first game against the Saudis. Everybody expected them to uphill battle. Messi, again, arguably the best player in world football, still even at this stage. He's managed to produce the goods when it matters. So they have now gone from a possibility of being out the tournament, now suddenly got back into the tournament, playing really confidently, playing like the Argentina that we have known. And usually in tournaments, teams go from strength to strength. You tend to go from strength to strength. And Argentina is just trending nicely. But it's a game that is in the balance. You can't really pick a winner there.
I have my Socceroos bias still on after Australia's match against Argentina, but the Socceroos almost got an equaliser there at the end. Is there reason for concern for Argentinian fans, given that loss to Saudi Arabia, given the way they just got past Australia? And what does Lionel Messi need to do? Is he the man that needs to inspire this team, or is it up to the other players?
I think Messi is the key.
Yeah.
I think he's still the key factor. When he plays well, normally Argentina tends to win, and that is shown in the last couple of games. He had played really well, and he's the one that's still pulled the strings in the team. But in doing so, you tend to bring along your teammates as well. He's such an iconic figure in the team and such a personality that everybody's sort of gone up another 5 or 10%, and that's what he's doing right now. They will feel pretty confident. Listen, when you're playing in a knockout competition, which is now, it doesn't matter what happened last week. It's about here and now. You just make sure that you do enough to get through to the next round, and that's how they will be thinking. There is no matter of concern. They're up against a team that is playing really well themselves in Netherlands, and it's going to be a really ding-dong battle, I think. And it's about who holding the nerves and who can produce that magical moment at the right time.
Well, World Cup quarterfinals don't get any bigger than what we are going to see in quarterfinal number 2. That is France taking on England. Now, Dwight, you and I both had England as our potential disappointments of the tournament. What they have served up so far has been nothing short of outstanding. Can they win this thing?
I think they're in with a chance. I think right now every team that is at this stage in the competition will feel like they got an outside chance. Despite the success that these teams are having, they're not really, there's no team out there I can say, oh, that's the guarantee 100% into the next round. I think when you get to the quarterfinal stage, like these two teams, France and England, listen, for me, this is where I think England will come up short. My short of England is getting to the quarterfinal because the level that they've been at. And this will be undoubtedly the biggest test. I think they had a reasonable ride to the quarterfinals. They do what they had to do in terms of getting the results, so take nothing away from England. But, you know, Mbappe and the French team, considering the French have got 3 of the major stars out of the competition, to where they are, the new superstar in our sport, the way how he's playing. We talk about Messi inspiring these other his teammates. This Mbappe is the man, and if England were to qualify or get past this stage, he's the one individual that they really have to stop.
Yeah, gee, we'll get to Mbappe in a moment. He's been nothing short of brilliant. But on England's performances that you've seen so far, what is it about what you've seen that concerns you ahead of this game against France?
I think the oppositions that they played is not really like the top boys yet. As I said, they're trending and take nothing away from England. I feel that, you know, in the past 5 years, 6 years under Gareth, who is somebody I know personally, I just think that the opportunity when they had it to win major tournaments, they haven't. And I feel that that will always be a burden on them going into these. The pressure will get even more so because, you know, they've been to semi-final, they've been to finals, quarter-final stage. You know, is what is expected of this England team. And so I feel that this is a different type of pressure playing against a real world class, the defending champions of the World Cup. I think they don't come much bigger than this. And I feel that with those additional pressure, I'm not so sure if they will be able to survive. I'll be amazed if they do. I'm hoping that they can because obviously England is very close to my heart in terms of being there for over 30 years. But I just felt that when they need that little X factor, they always seem to come up short. And I feel like that will be the case come game time.
You mentioned the pressure on the players there. What about the pressure that's been on Gareth Southgate as well? Every decision that he seems to have made has been so heavily scrutinised in terms of selection and the like. Is that just part and parcel with the job, or should we really be seeing the nation unite behind the 3 lines and try and present a united approach in this game?
Yeah, I think what you tend to understand when you live in England, there's a certain different type of pressure. It's nothing like being an Australian manager. I'm not saying there isn't pressure there at all.
Of course.
But England is just a total different level. And I think the media is different when it comes to England. I think there is a lot of ex-players as well who give their opinion that, again, has been sort of manipulated by the media, and sometimes people could read a lot into that. People watch a lot of, you know, don't forget, football is the #1 sports in England as well. So the attention there is, you know, maybe 20 times the attention when you were Australian manager, for instance. So a lot been said by current managers throughout the game, ex-players, that the people and the fans out there value their experience and value their take on what they're saying and manipulate the whole situation. So Gareth been in the job for nearly 5 years, so he has the experience, he understands what comes with it, and he has to be cool, collective about his decision and not be sort of misled by what people or the outside media are saying. And I think that's the key into any sort of managers. You can easily get caught up in the hype rather than stay in the moment. And if you stay in the moment and believe in your way of doing things, because if you're going to fail doing it your way. And if you're going to be successful, ideally the same way. You're not going to get influenced by other people. And I think that's, for me, will be the key if he has to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. One of those decisions that he was getting criticised for was starting Raheem Sterling in place of Phil Foden. Now, in really sad news, we have seen that Raheem Sterling has flown back to the UK to be with his family after a personal tragedy there. How much of a disruption is this to the English side to lose one of their strike players on the eve of the quarterfinals?
Well, as a manager and you know, other players or members of the staff and squad would be a little bit disturbed by that, because they're onto something that is going to be maybe a life-changing moment for them if they were to be successful and win the World Cup. The reality is that when something personal like that happens, you get affected by it because it could have happened to any other member or staff in that team. Unfortunately, it happened to Raheem, but that could be a little bit of a distraction. But again, this is where the manager, the staff, the players come together and sort of unite even further together a little bit more. And hopefully that will be the case. He will be able to overcome it, and hopefully the matter is resolved now, and he can come back and be part of something that could be very special and, as I said, a life-changing moment for them as well. And he wants to be part of that. But unfortunately, these circumstances do happen, and I'm sure that they're dealing with the best possible way that they can.
Absolutely. We certainly do hope to see him back in Qatar as soon as he can. Quarterfinal number 3, it is Brazil taking on Croatia. Brazil have been nothing short of outstanding so far in this tournament. No wonder they've been celebrating so much with all the goals that they've been scoring. Croatia just sneaking through their round of 16 match. On paper, it seems like Brazil are going to do this one pretty easily. Yeah,
for me it is. I think this is the team. I think anybody who finish above Brazil will win the World Cup. It's as simple as that. And you look at the pathway through for England and them, obviously a chance to meet them in the final. Brazil is the one that looks very convincing. They're playing free-flowing football, as we call it, the Brazilian style. Seems to enjoy themselves. They're arguably the best player back now in their squad, so they could only get better and stronger. But they're really exciting. They're playing some dynamic sort of football from front to back, really exciting, can dribble, you can create, and they're scoring frequently as well. So that's the team to beat. Croatia, the huff and puff got through last night, which was great for them. Again, they're in the sort of, in my opinion, the second tier of world champions football in terms of world football. Always seems to do well, always get to quarterfinals, always may get to a semi-final, the odd probably final, of course. But really, when you look at them, an aging team, not got enough legs, still decent players. Listen, there's always still a chance, and I'm not writing them off. But I can see Brazil really being comfortable against these lot.
And quarterfinal number 4, we have spoken about Morocco and what they bring to this matchup, but I don't know what to make of Portugal at the moment. We saw this morning Cristiano Ronaldo was start on the bench. Gonzalo Ramos. I hadn't seen much of him play. He scores a hat-trick in his first opportunity in what was a really impressive win. How do you see this one playing out? Portugal, for mine, they've always been a football world power, but I didn't necessarily have them playing as well as they did before the tournament began.
Yeah, it's kind of baffling because when you looked at the Portugal squad, they got a really good squad, really good all-round squad with very experienced players who are playing at the top of the game as well. And you got the likes of, some players not even getting in, but they got lots of Premier League, lots of Champions League winners there, and really good, fantastic footballers. So you kind of expected them to be thereabout. What we haven't seen is this Gonzalo kid who's obviously come on the scene. We know the hype surrounding Ronaldo, but as a manager, when you make the big call, you hope you get the decision right. And I think he will be a man that is very, very relieved today, the head coach. Leaving out the biggest sports personality in world football, the most talked about person, and get it right, because that's what the manager's job is, to get it right. You can only judge someone at the end of the results. And, I think he's got it spot on, and I'm sure he will enjoy his glass of wine in the last day or two.
Surely Ronaldo has to start on the bench again, given the performance that Ramos produced, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you score a hat-trick. That only happened to me once. I remember playing against Arsenal, as a matter of fact, and I scored a hat-trick against Arsenal, and we were playing Leeds the following weekend, and I got left out. The manager left me out. That's only the great man himself, Sir Alex Ferguson. So I'll never forget that. That's really left a bittersweet taste in my mouth. But it doesn't happen very often. I expect the Gonzalo to obviously retain his place. As much as I'm a massive Cristiano Ronaldo fan, sometimes things work out that way as a manager, and he's got every right to be confident in terms of going into the next game. But Ronaldo just has to buy his time, and hopefully he can probably come on and nick the winner in such a crucial game.
Yeah, with Ronaldo's form, no doubt that is probably what he will do as well. To finish up, we are going to fire through some rapid predictions. Now, we did do a few of these last time.
Sorry to interrupt you there. You didn't talk about Morocco, did we?
Morocco, to go back to them again. Do you think they're going to win this? I actually didn't ask for a tip.
No,
Who
yeah.
wins this game?
Yeah. I do believe that Morocco might just nick them. I really do.
Incredible story that
It would be. And as much as, the Portuguese side looks very impressive last night, and quite rightly so, I understand why a lot of people will fancy their chances going in. But this Morocco side, once they're well supported, they got the energy, they got some good momentum going now. Again, this is a tough game to call, but won't be surprised to many if they really turned up and nick it on the day against Portugal. We've seen it happen. We've seen Spain go undone. I think they will gain some confidence going into this game as well.
There's been so many surprise results, no doubt. Victory against Portugal would cement Morocco's place as the real standout team of the tournament so far. It's what the World Cup's all about. Now, Dwight, rapid fire. Who's been your player of the tournament so far?
Mbappe.
Yeah, and you also predicted him to win the Golden Boot as well, of which he is currently the leader.
Yep, and I think that he will win it. I really do. I've watched this kid in the last couple of years, and sometimes you just look at someone and he's just ready to go. He's just got all the X factors. He's got terrific pace, or unbelievable pace, as a matter of fact. But not only that, you look at the player, how their influence game, their football intelligence, which is something that is big for me to see, how he understands how to read, how to drop into pockets, and when he can take the game away from opposition in such flash moments. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise to me. I'm sure a lot of people out there probably picked him himself, but yeah, he looks the real deal.
Our statisticians have had to comb through the record books to find the last time that someone won both the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball at a World Cup. That was 1990. Do you think that Mbappe is about to do the same now?
I think he's on course to do it. I think you'll be a brave man to bet against him right now. I think the kid right now is on cloud nine. I think everything he touched seems to be happening for him, and that's a good sign when you think that will rub off on his teammates as well. And I think that's the key. They will fancy the chances against England. I just think that England has obviously some very good players in their ranks, but this Mbappe kid is a little bit special. He can take the game away from them.
Absolutely. And the million-dollar question, Dwight, who wins the 2022 World Cup?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Brazil.
Yeah.
I think Brazil is the team for me. I just think when you look at the excitement that they have, and there's always an element of weakness somewhere in a team because no team is absolutely perfect. They got a very good goalkeeper. They got Silva in the back there down the core. Midfield, they got Casemiro, and they got Neymar. And you looked at some of the white players in Rafinha and those type of guy, and they got players to come off the bench that even our Anthony at Man United, he can't get in, and he's worth 85 million. So they got class players in attacking areas, which is what you need if you go a goal down. And I think if they don't win it from the front, they got players who can come in and make that difference. And I think that's what Brazil has got ahead of most of the teams when you think about it. England has got a little bit of that, but not quite like what Brazil got.
Well, the only thing left for us to do is watch it all happen. So, Dwight Yorke, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insights to this World Cup. It's been an honour to be able to sit alongside you and hear them.
Thank you very much, Sam.
And thank you, everyone, for watching at home. We do hope you enjoy the rest of the 2022 World Cup.